Okay, so I lied. I know I said I was taking a break, which I was. It's been like 10 days since I announced that. I think I'm still going to be taking a break from reactions, but I did want to kind of do this Black MIDI madness here because I think it really is just the reaction content that's kind of tiring me out. So we're going to try this. I mean, if you're seeing this, obviously it went well. So yeah, we got a Black MIDI bracket here. Black MIDI is probably one of my favorite bands ever, I'd say. They've released 3 fantastic albums. I have a bracket of 32 here. This is featuring tracks off Hellfire, Schlagenheim, however you say it, and Cavalcade, as well as a couple of singles. I mean, you have Cruising, you have some pre-Schlagenheim singles on here, and you have Sweater as well. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to jump into this. We're going to figure out what the best or my favorite Black MIDI song is. All right, so the first matchup is Reggae versus Dangerous Liaison. I mean, Reggae is pretty intense. It's definitely one of the better tracks off Schlagenheim, but I gotta give it to Dangerous Liaison. I mean, the story of that track is just incredible. About the farmer obviously having to kill this dude, and then it turns out to be the devil. It's just a great story. Instrumentation is better. I think what we're gonna see on this is a lot of Hellfire winning out, if I had to guess, because I think that's easily their best album. And I think the mixing really is kind of what sets that album apart as well. I mean, it's great songwriting. We'll go into it more, but definitely Dangerous Liaison wins that. Next one here, this is easy. I mean, Halftime is kind of just a skit, interlude, whatever you want to call it, so it's not even, doesn't even really put up a fight there. Next up, we have Ductor versus Western. Western's one of the more underwhelming cuts off of Schlagenheim for me. Ductor is insane. If I believe that's the finale, the ender. It's not my favorite off of Schlagenheim, but it is pretty crazy. Western's kind of a slow burner. Again, a little underwhelming, so Ductor's gonna win that one. Near Detroit, Michigan versus Marlene Dietrich. So we have kind of a slow, beautiful track off of Cavalcade here, and then we have an absolute insane track. I was listening to this in preparation for this, and I forgot about this track. This track is a sleeper. Cameron goes absolutely insane on the vocals. Blood in the water. There's blood in the water. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's angsty. It's a lot better than Marlene. Not a lot better, but it's better. We have Slow versus Still. Two kind of, I guess, no, Slow isn't really there's parts of it that feel a little bit more subdued, but it definitely does kind of go insane. Still does too at points. I think I'm going to give it to Slow, though. I think Still is one of the weaker moments on Hellfire. Slow was actually the first Black MIDI song I ever heard, so it's kind of got a soft spot for me. But I do think it's still a better track. Cameron's vocals are actually pretty decent on there. Music video is great. I know that doesn't really matter for the song, but it does kind of reach a more satisfying climax in that song, I guess. We have the long name tracks here. We have Conjura Malaysia Patella, which I believe is something to do with the knee, right? If I remember correctly. And we have Hogwash and Balderdash. No idea what that means. I'm going to give it to Conjure Malaysia here. It's close. This one is definitely one of the closer matchups. Hogwash and Balderdash is insane. Like, it starts off with those jingling, I don't even know what they are, but it's crazy. I think Conjure Malaysia Patella is just a bit more of a well fleshed out song, and I really love the changes in that track. There's like some intense riffs, and then there's some more serene kind of beautiful moments, and it feels really varied and really satisfying as well. Dethroned versus Sweater. Sweater I loved at first, but it's kind of grown off me quite a bit. It's like a 12-minute track. It does kind of take a while to get to that insane ending, and the ending is insane, but I feel like it's one of their least interesting songs, and the energy isn't really there, which is fine, because they have had some more subdued tracks that have worked really well. But this one's just a little bit too long, in my opinion, and it takes a while to get to that insane outro. Dethroned is great on Cavalcade too, the jazzy influence. I mean, that whole album is jazzy, but especially on this track. Next up, we have Eat Men Eat versus Of Schlagenheim. Eat Men Eat is going to eat this, I almost said. Eat Men Eat was a little bit underwhelming for me on a first listen. I didn't love Cameron's vocals, but actually his vocal performance has grown on me so much. There's parts where he's just going absolutely insane on that track, and it really captures that hell kind of landscape that this whole album is about. Of Schlagenheim is a 6-minute decent track on Schlagenheim. I keep saying Schlagenheim and Schlagenheim. It's all right. It's one of the better ones on Schlagenheim, but Eat Men Eat's definitely going to take this. Let's just continue this side, and then we'll move to the other side. Dangerous Liaison versus The Race is About to Begin. I think I would actually give it to Dangerous Liaison. I mean, Greep goes absolutely insane on The Race is About to Begin. He goes kind of like Rap God for like 3 minutes straight. That one is a little bit chaotic to its detriment, in my opinion. I think Dangerous Liaison is just a more solid experience, in my opinion. I mean, the race was mind-blowing on a first listen, but I gotta give it to Dangerous Liaison here. Ductor versus Near Detroit, Michigan. I'm going to give it to Ductor. I wouldn't be surprised if Ductor makes it pretty far in this bracket here. I mean, it's just fantastic. Greep, the insanity that he reaches at the end of that track, crazy. Like I said, Cameron's good on this Detroit, Michigan track, but it is not even really that close, in my opinion. This one is super tough here. Slow versus Condra Malaysia Patella. I mean, off a gut feeling, I'm giving it to Slow. Kind of go to them for two different things, two different reasons. They're both standouts on Cavalcade for me, but I'm going to give it to Slow. Dethroned versus Eat Men Eat. I'm going to give it to Eat Men Eat. And again, these are kind of pretty different tracks here, but I think Eat Men Eat, Cameron goes insane. Instrumentation, great. Story, great. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Hellfire makes it pretty far on this, or the Hellfire tracks. Next up, we have Eat Men Eat versus Slow. I think Eat Men Eat's going to take it again. This track has grown on me a bunch. It's insanity. I mean, I've said it again and again. Slow is great. I love the meditative moments of that, and the patient moments, and obviously the whole track kind of being about time and stuff like that, and how it kind of explodes in certain elements or certain parts. It's a really unsettling track. It's a really kind of depressing track, but this track, the insanity of Eat Men Eat, kind of beats it out, in my opinion. Dangerous Liaison versus Ductor. I think Ductor is going to win it. Let me actually just refresh myself on Ductor. I mean, that riff is just so memorable, so catchy. And this like second half here, it just feels like the whole world is kind of crumbling. It's insane. It's intense. It's heavy. So Ductor's going to take that. And then we have Ductor versus Eat Men Eat. I don't think it's actually that tough. I'm going to give it to Eat Men Eat. I think this is where Ductor reaches its end here. Let me just hear Eat Men Eat again. I mean, like I said, Hellfire is just on a completely different level. The execution, the storytelling, the mixing, the production, the songwriting. It's crazy. It's crazy. Eat Men Eat is going to make it to the finals. Okay, we're moving to the right side. We got Crow's Perch versus Welcome to Hell. This isn't even close. Crow's Perch is kind of a forgettable pre-Schlagenheim single for me, at least. That's not even close at all. Talking Heads versus Sugar/Zoo. Talking Heads is definitely the better of these two singles of Crow's Perch and Talking Heads. It's actually, I love just the vibe of this track. It's one of the more like kind of uplifting tracks, in my opinion. It almost sounds like something Black Country New Road could make. That's definitely a solid single, probably the best like non-album single on here. But I'm still gonna give it to Sugar/Zoo. I mean, you got the story of the wrestlers there. It's crazy, man. The speed of that track is insane. Like, the riff is just like mind-blowing how humans are actually playing that riff, because it's just insanely fast. So Sugar/Zoo is going to take that. 953 versus 711. 711 is actually another pretty solid single. I had to refresh myself on it before this video, and I just love the storytelling of this track, and the kind of the monotone delivery and the way in which he's going about it. And then obviously the story ends with him getting hit by a truck, and then the track just kind of explodes. It is a little bit underwhelming after that kind of explosion, in my opinion. I think they could have fleshed that out and made it a little bit more intense. 953 has like 3 different insanely catchy riffs, so I'm going to go 953. I love just the playing on that track, and again, the riffs are super memorable. Years Ago versus John L. John L is easily going to win this. Years Ago is kind of more of a forgettable track for me off Schlagenheim. John L, obviously, the introduction to Cavalcade, it's this jazzy, it's this avant-garde kind of proggy, just insanity. It's kind of hard to listen to. I don't return to it that much, but I do appreciate the technical skill and just ability of what they're doing on that track. It's amazing. Ascending Forth versus Cruising. Cruising is really an underwhelming single for me. That might be like maybe even the worst track on this. Either Cruising or Sweater is probably the worst track on this bracket here. It's just really forgettable, in my opinion. I believe it came out post Cavalcade, I think. It might have been just a B-side off of that album or just a throwaway, but it was, either way, it was super underwhelming. And Ascending Forth, it wasn't one of my favorites off first listen, but it's a great ending to a great record in Cavalcade. So that's easily going to beat it out. Hellfire versus Speedway. Hellfire is actually a pretty underrated, I would say. It's a really engaging intro to Hellfire. And Speedway, honestly, probably another one of the weaker tracks on this bracket here. I just don't see myself coming back to it that often. So they're both not like amazing tracks, but Hellfire's going to take it. The Defense versus BMBMBM. I mean, it's pretty obvious. BMBMBM. Talk about it later, but it's iconic. 27 Questions versus Diamond Stuff. This one's tough, actually. 27 Questions, the ender off of Hellfire. There's some beautiful moments to it. I love Greep's kind of like theatrical outro asking the 27 or actually 26 questions. As I think about Diamond Stuff, I'm going to give it to Diamond Stuff. It's probably one of my favorite Black MIDI tracks ever. It's one of their most beautiful tracks, in my opinion. It's almost got like an In Rainbows kind of feel to it. It feels like it could be on that album in a weird way. The build to the soft but colorful explosion of instruments, I guess you could say, is amazing. That part gives me chills pretty much every time I listen to it. It's just the atmosphere on that track is insane, and like I said, it's probably one of the most beautiful tracks they've made. So, but then we have it going up against BMBMBM. This one's tough. BMBMBM is great. Like I said, it's iconic. She moves with a porpoise. It's just so memorable. The performance is great. Diamond Stuff is so beautiful. They're two very different Black MIDI tracks. Diamond Stuff shows that beautiful side of Black MIDI the best, and then BMBMBM kind of shows that terrifying, chaotic side of them. Maybe not the best, but extremely well as well. I'm going to go BMBMBM. I mean, it's just iconic. It's a little bit more memorable. I think I enjoy listening to it a little bit more, but it's tough to see Diamond Stuff go out this early. All right, we have Ascending Forth versus Hellfire. Ascending Forth is going to take this one. Hellfire is a cool intro, like I said. I mean, it's definitely better than Speedway, but Ascending Forth is a much stronger track, a much more fleshed out track. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare them because one's a finale, one's a intro. Next up, we have 953 versus John L. This one's actually tough. I think I would give it to 953. I find myself listening to that more. John L's probably a little bit more technically impressive, but it's a little bit harder to get a grasp on, which makes it a little bit less enjoyable for me, at least. Obviously, this is all just based off of enjoyment. There's no objective criteria for this video. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to 953, definitely. Welcome to Hell versus Sugar/Zoo. It sucks to see Sugar go out this early because it's a great track, but Welcome to Hell is probably the best on Hellfire, maybe. We'll see. I'll talk about it more because I'm thinking it's going to move on. Yeah, it's going up against 953 here. It's going to beat out 953. Again, Welcome to Hell. Insane. I mean, it was the first single, right, for Hellfire. The switch-ups are crazy. That massive section where there's, like, reverb on everything, and it's just, like, I don't know. The production on mixing on that track and just the vibe of this track is crazy. The switch-ups, the tempo changes, the speed, it's just everything I want in a Black MIDI track. So it's going to beat out 953. Then we have BMBMBM versus Ascending Forth. Ascending Forth, I believe, or BMBMBM is going to take it. Again, they're kind of different because Ascending Forth is more on that kind of serene side of Black MIDI. This is just, I feel like, a stronger display of what the band actually is. Not saying that they can't be things outside of chaotic and scary and stuff like that, but it's just iconic, you know? So it's got to move on. And then we have BMBMBM versus Welcome to Hell. This is a matchup of giants here, of titans, of absolute GOAT songs, you know? I think Welcome to Hell is going to take it, though. I've been listening to this song so much in preparation for this video. I mean, it blows me every time. It blows me away every time I listen to it. Maybe the only reason, I mean, they're both perfect tracks pretty much, but I guess the only reason is that Welcome to Hell is just produced a little bit better and just mixed better. And the story, I guess the lyrics are definitely better on Welcome to Hell as well, in my opinion. Now we have Eat Men Eat versus Welcome to Hell, the final matchup here. I'm going to give it to Welcome to Hell. I mean, I had a feeling going into this that this was going to be my champion, but here we are. I think it's the best track on Hellfire. I think it's the best song they've made yet. Yeah, I would say Eat Men Eat and Welcome to Hell are definitely probably the two best on Hellfire, so it makes sense why they're here. The drums on this track are crazy as well. Morgan goes insane. There's a point where all the instruments cut out and it's just Morgan, just a drum solo. And it's like the best thing ever. And then, hold on. This part. I mean, it's like bombastic, it's absurd, it's massive sounding. This whole track is just perfection. It keeps me completely entertained the entire way through. Greep is great on it. Mixing, production, lyrics, song structure, it's all just so perfect. It's super exciting. It perfectly encapsulates the vibe of Hellfire, in my opinion, and kind of the vibe of Black MIDI in general. So yeah, that's going to do it. Welcome to Hell is your champion for the Black MIDI bracket here. Again, this is not saying it's their best song. It's just my personal favorite Black MIDI song. You can let me know down below if you agree. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you would pick as the best or as your favorite Black MIDI song. And yeah, Black MIDI, the boys, the best ever.
It blows me every time.